Hello there, my friends. It's Jackie Bolhuis from Klompen Stampers. Today, I have a couple of different cards that I'm going to share with you using the Delicate Dahlias stamp set. Now, while we make these two cards, I have quite a few stamping tips. So these tips will apply to any stamping or card making. So make sure you watch all the way to the end so that you don't miss any of them, because some of them are kind of fun. Now, Delicate Dahlias is a gorgeous floral stamp set. And the only way to get it is free. Who loves free? We all love free, but you only have until the end of September. As you may or may not know, it's Sale-a-bration time at Stampin' Up! And that means you get to select a free item with every $50 you purchase. And Delicate Dahlias is one of those items. It actually requires a $100 purchase, but oh, it's so worth it as a freebie. Now, speaking of Sale-a-bration, if you love to get the very best deal on all your stamping products, you might want to consider joining the Klompen Stampers and Stampin' Up! During Sale-a-bration. They've got this fabulous special on the starter kit. You get to pick whatever you want out of either catalog, up to $125 worth. You're only going to pay $99 for that. Get free shipping. Plus, they give you an additional free bundle that you get to pick. There's, I think, 12 different ones to pick from. And this is all shown in the in the Sale-a-bration brochure. Now, I don't want to sit here and sound all sales pitchy and all that, because I really want to get to stamping. But I always love to share when it's a great time to join Stampin' Up! You know, joining Stampin' Up!, yes, it means you're becoming a demonstrator. That's just the term they use for people that sign up. Other companies use consultants or, oh gosh, I can't even think of any right now. But it doesn't mean you have to demonstrate. Most people join Stampin' Up! Because they love to stamp. It's their hobby, and they want to get the best deal and be part of a great community of people. There's so many benefits to joining and buying from yourself, getting a 20 to 25% discount, and being part of the Klompen Stampers. Almost all my tutorials you get for free. I share them with all my demonstrator team. We do fun virtual stamping events. You can earn a free Creative 8 retreat and so much more. Now, like I said, I'm done talking. Sorry it got so long. I usually don't talk so much, but I do get really excited when there's a great special. Now, over on my website, klompenstampers.com, there is a tab or a link or whatever, and it talks about joining. If you're interested at all, go over there and read the information. I've got the deal spelled out, as well as what does it really mean, okay? So check that out. Now, without further ado, let's get stamping. That's why we're here, right? Hang on, let me flip the camera down. Like I said, it's Sale-a-bration, and it runs through September 30th, so you still have time. And there's so many gorgeous products. This bedazzling specialty paper's been a hot, I say seller, but I guess you get it for free. So do we really call that a seller? It's possible this could run out, though. It is unlimited quantities. We have other designer series papers, stamp sets, and then this is what I want to talk about, Delicate Dahlias. This has probably been the #1 pick for my customers. So it is a beautiful stamp set. Now, if you don't have this brochure, again, over on my website, Klompen Stampers, click on catalogs, and you can download it, and you can view all of those. Okay, a couple of things I like about the stamp set. It is they don't call it distinctive, but to me it's a distinctive image. It's very, very detailed. It's very pretty. And you can use just the floral image by itself, or you can put the outline on top of it for a completely different look. And I'm going to stamp it both ways to show you. Or if you love to color, you can stamp just the outline and then come in and color it however you prefer. Plus, there's a few great greetings, and we all love great greetings. So let's set that aside and let's get to stamping. And we're going to start out with my very first tip. Now, it's a big stamp. This might be one that you choose to use your Stamparatus with, but I want to show you, and I probably should peel these off here so I can really show you. Oh, they're really stuck on there. I stuck them on a couple days ago getting ready for this video. So like I said, you can stamp this one right on top of there. But it's, I don't know if I want to use the word tricky, but it's a little tricky when you're stamping to figure out, okay, where exactly does a stamp to line up? So the little tip I have for you is when you put these on your stamps, I want you to have your stamp case handy, and then I want you to find where or like match it up with the image. Now I had this figured out in my head before I did this to make it easy. And would you believe? I don't remember. So we're going to spin around. I think, oh goodness, there it is. And I don't know if you can see that. There's kind of this weird leaf here where one little piece sticks out, which is that part. So what I did is I set it on the stamp case. Now it's not exact size, but I can line it up left, right, up and down. And then oh my goodness, I completely blew that, didn't I? Here it is. The outline went up here. So it's the same thing. We're looking at those same pieces and it's right there. Holy cow, are we ever going to get to stamping today? And then that same little one is going to go right there. Okay, we got it. Now I'm going to take my block and I'm going to pick that stamp up, and you have to help it there. But what I'm really, and if you need to move it over, that's okay. But what I'm really looking at is this top part right there is going to match up with this top part right there. Now, as long as I just kind of leave these sitting around that way, they're going to line up when I stamp. So we are going to stamp block up, and then we're going to stamp this one with block up, and you'll see how easy they are to line up. Now, an issue I have people ask me about all the time, and I have myself, is if your stamp pad is too juicy. When you go to stamp your image, it kind of beads up or it's way too much ink. And it happens a lot with detailed stamps. You want to just take the back of a spoon and gently move all that ink off to the edge like this. Just run the back of that rounded part of the spoon. It won't hurt your pad. You're not wasting ink. I'm just getting a very little bit on there, but it's kind of taking the ink off of the surface. So now when I ink this up, and I probably should have done one for you first so you could see, it's still pretty inky. See all those dots? Because this is a super, super inky pad. We're going to actually try running some of that off. This is a brand new pad. I recently replaced my pads, so they were so juicy. The other thing you can do if it's consistently way too juicy for you is actually take a paper towel, much better, and blot off some of that ink. Okay, but we just stamped 3 of them, and you can see it's still pretty inky, but the beauty of bringing this black in and stamping on top of it, it really doesn't matter. Honestly, I don't know that I like that. If I was going to leave it without the black on top, I would probably grab some paper towel and blot that off a little bit. So now we're going to line this one up, and I can look right through it. Usually I have my head right over it. So, and I have to twist it a little bit because chances are I twisted that a little bit, but it gives me the general up and down direction of the stamp. So I can look down at the bottom here, or if you want to look at the top, and you can see right through there. I'm lining those petals up, and you can see, oh, I'm off a little bit there, but that's okay. If you're off a little bit, I think the design doesn't have to be super perfect, but by following that little tip I had for you, you will be pretty lined up. Look at that. That one's off a little bit too, but it's pretty good. So that was just a couple of tips for this particular stamp set. And then also those the flowers if your ink pad's too juicy. Now I don't know if my Pear Pizzazz is too juicy as well. It's pretty juicy, but I think it's going to be okay. So what I'm doing is just going ahead and adding some leaves in there. And again, this one is a 2-step. So I can go ahead and put the color, and I can see through this one pretty good. Oh, I don't want to get my head right in the way there. Usually, like I said, I am like directly over it. But aren't these flowers pretty? Now, I love greetings. You guys all know that. And this flower image could be used with any greeting. So if you want something different, we've got a nice thank you and sympathy and so forth in here, but we could easily add happy birthday or congratulations or whatever you want. So the stamp says more about the flowers than the greetings, but we're going to go ahead and use one of the greetings that is in the stamp set, and we'll make this a thank you kindly, and we'll go ahead, stamp on a piece of scrap, and then I am going to use my double oval punch, kind of small there, and we're going to punch out the small piece. Okay, I'm going to save that for something else, and then a scrap of black. for that top part. So this is a super fun punch because it's got kind of the scalp edge on there. And then you also have the oval that they layer perfectly. So we're really just at the point here that we want to put our card together. So we're gonna go ahead, take our adhesive onto our basic white here, and I'm gonna layer it. This started out 2 3/4, I believe, by 5 1/2. And then I'm layering it onto 3 by 5 1/2. Now don't worry about those measurements. I'll have them all listed on my blog post. And the one thing I do, if you're new to following me, every video I share with you has a corresponding blog post that will give you all the dimensions. I'll have pictures of the projects as well as all the cutting measurements and the supplies that I use to make it real easy for you to recreate this card if you want to. So we've got that part, and then I could have done this before I put it on black. I have a speckle stamp here. This is from, I think, the Forever Ferns. I believe that's what it's called, stamp set. Quite a few of them have a speckle stamp set, just a bunch of random speckles. And I love to use it just to add, it's almost like a little bit of dimension and texture. It's kind of the same look you can get if you like to do some splattering. Be careful to not overdo it. Notice how I still left some white space, and I wasn't like real heavy-handed on there to really kind of mess up my design. Maybe we'll put a little bit on the flower, but it just adds that little extra touch. Okay, a hidden favorite project of mine, this black gingham, oh, that's a hard word to say, is in our mini catalog. I believe it's actually, I don't know if I cut that long enough, in the Halloween section, but I'm like, hello, Jackie loves anything black. And it's thin enough that you can use it to tie a bow or small pieces. I'm not a great bow tire, especially with any ribbon that's really thick and stiff. So I was excited that this is nice and thin. We can kind of mess with it a little bit, and it does tie real nicely into a bow. So this is going to be use it all the time for me. It's not necessarily Halloween or holiday. It's just a great black. So who else likes black and white and black and pink? It's like perfect. Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and finish putting this together. We're going to use some dimensionals under the white layer of our little greeting here, and then we'll layer that on. And then let's put some dimensionals under the back as well. Now notice here, logically you put them out on the ends, but because I'm going to place this over my ribbon, I like to put them on the top and bottom so then it'll stick down really good. And we'll go ahead and grab, before we stick that down, let's grab our card base. Now I am using basic white thick. Anytime I use white for a card base, especially if I'm not putting a ton of layers on it, I really like the thick. Oops. It's a little bit heavier than the colored, but definitely, or I'm sorry, a little light. No, it's a little heavier weight than the colored cardstock, but it's a lot heavier than the regular basic white. And I think it just gives your card a little bit more substance to it. So I don't use it for layers, but for me, it's my go-to for my card base. And then we'll go ahead and stick our greeting on there. And then one final thing, I'm going to add some of those black matte dots that you see me use all the time. I love embellishments, and these are just the perfect little addition, let's see, to put on here. I always do them in threes. If you follow me, you know that. Try to do kind of a triangular pattern. And there we go. So there is our first card with delicate dahlias. And you can see how we used both images, the line image and the bold one, to make the card. Now I do have another finished one here. I'm just going to grab that, and you can see how I also added a flower on the inside. Now I'm going to clean up a little bit here, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the other card that I want to share with you using the stamp set. Okay, card number 2. Now for this one, we're starting out with, it looks like it's 2 3/4 inch square. We're going to do the stamping first. Then we are going to pull in the Simply Scored board because I want to show you kind of a fun scoring technique to add some dimension to your projects. Now we're going to go ahead and kind of stamp that in the bottom lower. Look at how pretty that is. Again, this ink pad is probably a little juicy, but not too bad. I am not going to put the black on it. So that's kind of the difference. We're going to just kind of let the beauty of the stamp do its own work. So we're keeping it super simple for the stamping. So we got the flower and 2 leaves, and then we might as well, as long as I have this out here, let's just go ahead and make this a thank you card as well. So there's our image, and then we're going to layer this. So we're going to kind of do the whole main focal point, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to the card base. So let's put that onto a piece of basic black. You know, when I kind of designed this card, I did not use any of that black ribbon, but boy, would it be pretty on here. You know what, let's grab the speckles and let's just put a couple of those black speckles in there as well. Now remember, very lightly, don't do too much, but I think it just adds that extra little touch. And let's go ahead and our faithful dimensionals. I'm going to put like 5 on here because this is a pretty big layer. And since it is the main focal point, we want to make sure that it really stays popped up and doesn't, you know, get squished down in the middle. We're going to go ahead and put it on that piece of pear pizzazz. So there's our focal point. So let's move everything here and get the scoring board. So this is the Simply Scored board, and you can see here how we have all of these lines that we can score on and all of our measurements across the top. Now you can also score with your cutter, your paper trimmer that has a scoring blade on it, but sometimes for bigger things, I love to use this board, and it also gives you a much deeper scored line than the trimmer does. So once again, we're using the thick because this is going to be the base. So it's basic white thick. And I have this one cut at 4 1/4 by 11. Now, whenever you cut your cardstock this direction, you know, you cut it at 4 1/4 the long way instead of 5 1/2 the short way, you do want to score it to fold it. The other way you can fold without scoring and get a pretty good line, but because your cardstock doesn't naturally fold this way, it's really tough to get a nice crisp edge unless you've scored it. Now, I've scored so the indent is on the top. You want to flip it over, and where the raised edge is, that is what actually goes to the inside. It took me many years to remember that because to me it makes sense where the little indent is should come to the inside, but it's exactly opposite what logic, I guess, tells us. So here is our card base. Ooh, I got a little bit of ink on my hand there. We don't want that. Okay. Now what I am going to do is open this back up, and I'm going to go ahead and just score some lines on the front of it. Now I do want the lines to be raised up. So well, notice this is the top. So we are going to flip it over because the raised up comes on that bottom part. So we're going to score at 10. Let's do 10, 10 1/2, and 9. I don't know, should we put them in? Let's see what that looks like. You know what? We could put them in the middle as well. There's really no right or wrong way. What I'm doing is just adding some texture to a very plain front card instead of adding a lot of layers. So you can see there's those score lines. Now let's set this aside and bring back our focal point here, and let's use dimensionals again. You know, the stamping and the layering and everything about this card is super simple. But by putting some dimensionals on there and then those little score lines, you'll see it really does make a pretty card. And I'm going to put this just right above that top score line. Try to get it somewhat straight. And there you go. There is our card. And I'll show you the one I made previously. I think I used a different yellow on this one. Here I did Bumblebee. This must have been Daffodil Delight. And I kind of switched the way they go. Okay, again, no right nor wrong reason. And then on the inside, I actually added a couple of layers. You know, we never think to layer on the inside, but look at how that just really makes it pop. And there's our thank you card. So 2 different versions done pretty similar. And then I also did this one where I just used the small little flowers and the oh so happy for you. But again, see the score lines on there, and I did some layering on the inside. So there you go, 3 different versions of that one. And then here we use the large flower and layered them up. But look at how different. It's like a whole different feel or vibe to that card. So I hope you've enjoyed these and all the different stamping tips I shared along the way. Remember, Delicate Dahlias, I hope that's how you say it, is only available until the end of September, and you can pick it up as a free item when you place an order in my online store. Now hop over to my website. There will be a link in the description of the video where you'll be able to find all the ordering information, celebration information, and all the products and cutting dimensions for these cards. And remember, if your wish list is more than $99, please consider joining Stampin' Up! In the Klompen Stampers. There's so many benefits, and it's really the best way to get the best deal on all of your stamping products. If you have questions, reach out to me because I'd love to share more with you. So until I stamp with you again, have a stamp happy day.